All right. Hello. This is my grandmother, Sally Sevener. She's going to answer a few questions about her experience related to the women's movement and just talk about how it affected her life and her family's life and her life as a mother and a wife as well. So, all right. Go ahead and get started. How old were you when you first heard about the women's movement, and how did you hear about it?
Well, I must have been around 18 because some of the research I did suggested that, well, for instance, the National Organization of Women was formed in 1966. I think that's right.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of the first things that I heard about was NOW. And although, wait a second, let's see this or that. Well, I was wrong about that. That it could have been organized. I think we need to start over.
Okay, you can start.
Question number
Okay.
one.
All right, here I'm gonna do the whole the whole introduction again because I didn't like my introduction either.
Oh no, I don't know if it's 1903 or if it's like, no, but we're talking about the 60s and the 70s.
Yeah.
So anyway, one of the first I heard. Okay, and I'm not going to say that it was formed in 1966 because that might be
wasn't?
wrong.
It probably was.
Do you need to know? Because
No.
I can look it up right here.
I'm curious though.
Mhm.
Oh no. Come on. Siri. When was the National Organization of Women formed? You were right.
66.
See? Trust yourself.
Yeah, I guess I should. I wrote it down.
All right. I'm going to introduce.
There are so many. My gosh. Marches
How do I
and
start
things
this? How do I
going
start
on.
this? I'm just going to say this afternoon I will be interviewing.
You did fine. Say my grandmother, since she's old, she might have something to say, but not
Okay.
really. She's not good at this at all.
I'm going to make a section at the end for bloopers. Okay. This afternoon, I'm interviewing my grandmother, Sally Sevener. We are going to be talking about her experiences related to the women's movement during the 60s and 70s. And we're going to talk about how it affected her family life at home, how it affected her as an individual, and also how it affected her life as a wife and a mother, and her current views on feminism and her past views on feminism as well. So, go ahead and begin with the first question. How old were you when you first heard about the women's movement, and how did you hear about it?
I believe I was 18. I had just graduated high school, and the first issue I recall, or organization I recall hearing about was NOW, National Organization for Women, which was formed in 66. So I graduated in 65.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, I heard of that and the organized group going around the states and marching and speaking on the street and
Mm-hmm.
about different issues at that time.
Okay. And what were your first thoughts and reactions to the women's movement after you heard about NOW and all those different organizations, if you can recall?
Well, the second, and of course most important, what I recall is Roe versus Wade.
Okay.
And of course, I'm a believer
Mm-hmm.
in women having a say over what they do with their bodies, and you know, and that they have the right to make that decision
Right.
one way or the other
Uh-huh.
if they want to have an abortion. And that was one of the big,
Right.
you know, explosions
Mm-hmm.
back then as well. So that was the first issue that I remember
Mhm.
hearing about or paying attention to.
Okay.
Um, so
Do you remember how you felt when you heard about it, or like if you had any strong opinions back then over the issue?
where I heard about it, well, I guess it would have had to be TV and
Mm-hmm.
the radio, obviously,
Yeah.
and things like that. But whether or not I had strong feelings
Yeah,
about it,
yeah.
well, like I just said, surely because I, I obviously no one likes abortion, but
Right.
yeah, that really. I'm not just going to say that it wasn't the issue. It really was the issue, but it also means a lot for the woman herself to be able to handle it and to
Mm-hmm.
figure out what she wants to do with her own
Right.
life and her
Yeah.
body. So she has the right to choose.
Mhm.
The government doesn't.
Right.
So
Cool. Okay. What was the general political atmosphere where you grew up?
well, when I was 6 years old, actually between 6 years and 14 years, Dwight Eisenhower was our president.
Mm-hmm.
And the only really thing I recall, at least when I was younger, there was my dad being a Republican
Mm-hmm.
and him voting, he and my mom
Mm-hmm.
agreeing as Republicans to vote for Dwight Eisenhower for president.
Mm-hmm.
And then he did go on and serve 2 terms. I don't really remember. Well, regarding question 4, I'm sorry.
That's
I'm
okay.
kind of going into question 4
Yeah, that's
about what did political activism look like where I grew up.
Mm-hmm.
I grew up in Ann Arbor, Michigan, so it was the town of the University of Michigan. However, I just don't remember hearing of marches or
Okay.
being aware of anything going on, right in our town like that in
Right.
order to get or to be a part of. I wasn't much of an activist. I'm still not.
Yeah.
But I definitely would today and would have back then as well taken part in women's movement marches and marching in the street and carrying a sign and
Mm-hmm.
listening to speakers and
Right. Yeah,
because
definitely.
I was aware, I just wasn't.
Yeah. Involved necessarily.
Involved.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay.
Okay. So when you were growing up, did you consider your political values, if you had any, and beliefs to be aligned with the general values of your community or your family?
Well, there again, did I consider my values and beliefs to be aligned? Well, that's hard to say because the community, you don't know everyone's values,
Yeah.
obviously. And if you're asking me whether or not I would have voted for Eisenhower, I don't really remember that. However, at some point in there, my dad lost me, I guess, because as long as I can remember and having it be important, I've been a Democrat.
Yeah.
And I don't remember growing up with Democratic children,
Right.
or, families discussing differences between the two parties, or anything like that. I just feel strongly about that
Yeah.
today.
Yeah.
Did I answer that?
Yeah. Yeah. And like, it's hard to.
Atmosphere. Oh.
It's hard to. I guess like when I was in high school, I didn't really think about that kind of stuff. I didn't really start to think about politics and stuff until college. I knew that I associated more with Democrats, but I guess what I was trying to ask was if there were any representations of the women's movement or of feminism in your community, and if you felt like that was like maybe your views on feminism were kind of represented in the community at all.
There again, I can't remember.
Okay.
Being a large college town,
Yeah.
or being a college town, you'd think maybe there would have been some things to participate in and so on, and there probably were, but I was kind of wrapped up in my own life.
Yeah.
Getting married and starting a family and
Right. Yeah.
things like that. So not much help there.
This is gonna kind of go off of because I just thought of something else that I could say, and so if you don't have an answer for this, then that's totally fine. But would you say that did you have any desire at that age, 18, 19, after you graduated high school, to attend college and in Ann Arbor, or that was what you said, right? Yeah. And do you think, did you have a desire to do that, and if so, why?
Attend college in
Yeah.
Ann Arbor?
Yeah, or anywhere.
No, I attended college in a small town 8 miles from Ann Arbor.
Okay.
By the name of Ypsilanti,
Okay.
Michigan. A friend and I, we both worked and we both went together to Cleary College, Cleary, in Ypsilanti, and we took college courses. We both attended for a couple of years, and we got administrative degrees. What are they called?
Yeah, associate.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I knew administrative wasn't right. Associate's degrees there, and in administrative assistant, which they called, of course, secretaries back then, secretarial program, and then we both got jobs and went on to work.
Okay.
Lived together some more, and
cool.
And as far as, did you ask me if there were other things to be a part of, or any marches or anything at that time, or anything
I guess
that I recall?
Anything on the college campus or anything, were you a part of campus life very much, or was it more of was it a kind of a community college, or?
Oh, our school.
Yeah.
Yes, it was a very small.
Okay.
business college.
Okay.
However, it was a business college,
Okay.
accredited business college. And, but as far as University of Michigan activities or anything, did you ask me about that?
Mhm. And that we-
The only activity we really got involved in is Michigan football.
Okay, yeah, right.
Yeah. So.
Okay, cool. Okay, that helps. So, this is going back a little bit, but prior to the women's movement, what was the general dynamic of your household in terms of work?
Who
So,
did what?
yeah, like the balance, I guess, of the workload involved with raising a family and owning a house and all of that.
Wait a second. Are you talking about my? Oh, I was thinking we're talking about my family growing up.
Yeah.
Oh, you are.
Yeah.
Oh,
Prior
okay.
to the women's movement. So yes,
Oh,
when
okay.
you were growing up.
You wanted to know what my dad
Like,
did
yeah.
and my mom. And,
Mhm.
oh, okay. Okay. Well, my dad was circulation manager of the Ann Arbor newspaper for 25 years. That was his job, and very active in volleyball and softball. And my mom was a golf widow because he was quite a golfer. And she worked part-time, I remember, in a nursery school.
Okay.
Now, I can't remember if that's when I was in nursery school because I had older siblings in school. But anyway, I remember her working in a nursery school for some reason, part-time. And she had 4 kids. I was the youngest.
Okay.
So now that's work outside of the home. Are you, as far as inside of the home,
Mhm.
of course, with 3 girls in the family, she took advantage of that. And I don't remember folding laundry or doing laundry. I remember doing dishes. But, we all had our certain jobs, and I'm sure we probably took turns doing them.
Okay.
So is that what you mean?
Yeah.
You just want to know about my family?
Yeah.
In general?
Yeah.
Okay, well, that was it.
Okay. And do you think that when it came to household chores and raising helping raise you and your siblings, do you think that the workload was kind of equal, balanced between your parents?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And I also had a brother who, would help my dad out in the yard.
Okay.
And different things outside, so.
All right. So, I kind of already asked this, but political atmosphere. So your parents were both Republicans. The general political atmosphere of your household.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I remember them voting.
Okay. And they both agreed, you said, to vote for the same person. Like, do you think that wasn't like an argument or anything? They both kind of had the same.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Political values, I believe they did. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So this also was kind of answered earlier, but now, do you feel that your political views now align with the political views of your household? So that is kind of to say
household.
To that, yeah, you're back then. So like, do you think that your household growing up or the way that you were raised had an influence on your
apparently not,
views
because
now?
like I said earlier, for as long as I remember, I've
Mm-hmm.
been a democratic thinker.
Right.
And my husband is.
Right.
Now, if anybody would have had an influence, it would have been him
Yeah.
on me over my folks. And who knows, maybe when I was 6 years old and Eisenhower was running for president, I carried a sign up and down my street in my neighborhood with all the other kindergartners. Dwight Eisenhower's name. No, it was Ike is what we called him back then. Vote for Ike. But yeah, I don't remember if
Okay.
did that or not.
Yeah.
So,
That's funny.
okay. Sorry, did I?
No, that's good.
Okay.
That's good.
So, as far as number 8.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I guess, do you remember ever being opposed to certain things that your parents would say? Like, did you guys ever have any political conversations or anything like that?
No,
No.
so probably had I gone outside and marched up and down the street for the other guy, maybe we would have had some choice words.
Yeah.
Or he would have.
Yeah.
No, I'm sorry. No.
No, that's fine. That helps. It's good information too.
We got number 9.
Yeah. Views of a family. So, yeah, was there a reaction to the women's movement in your household? Given that your parents were both Republicans, do you remember how they felt about it? Do you remember any discussions being had about it? Even if it was just like, you know, your parents turning off the TV when there was stuff about the women's movement, or like choosing to listen to it or not to listen to it, like any
Oh my gosh, no.
anything there?
You know, it's sad, but it's so true, and I've heard other people say this, that, boy, as you get older and your parents are gone,
Yeah.
you just wish, I mean, you get interested in more things yourself, and you have questions for them,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
That's hard, but anyway, we all go through that.
Yeah.
So, no, honey, I just really don't
Okay.
think that we had any arguments about it.
Okay. That is okay, because that's not really that important. Okay.
What number are we on?
Number
9.
10.
Oh, no, I guess that was it, that my
Yeah.
previous household.
Yes. So, would you say that your life was affected by the women's movement in any way, even
Back then or
back
now?
then or now? Yeah. Even in a slight way.
Well, I keep abreast of things
Mhm.
now, much more than I ever have before. Maybe you find that, well, some people just do, but I apparently have found in my retirement years that I have more time, and I have taken quite an interest. It's a shame that this president, our current president, has me interested.
Mhm.
I mean, I guess I tune in every day to see, well, I don't need to be specific about our current president, but, you know, curious about things, and he's almost had something different in the news, you know, every week, and so
Mhm.
I don't know, for some reason I'm very much interested these days,
Mhm.
and of course I'm most interested of late in the Me Too movement.
Mhm.
I recall it back in the day. It was called something similar was called Take Back the Night,
Okay.
which we still do. We still do here in Springfield every year. But I don't know if this is the right place to insert this, but I actually had an experience while working at the Kellogg Company in Battle Creek, Michigan.
Oh, really?
I was working in an office where my boss was a retired Army colonel, and he wouldn't put it past him to, or it wouldn't put it past him to take a file folder and swat me on the behind as I was leaving his office after I was taking dictation or something, you know, and he called me his little trooper. So, yeah. I just never have forgotten that, and, you know, I'm very fortunate and grateful that I've never had to go through anything worse than that. And, but I did experience that at Kellogg Company in the department I was working in with him, and I didn't like it.
Yeah. That's not good. Not cool. Did you, do you remember, like,
now?
speaking up about that at all or telling anybody?
No.
You just didn't think anything of it,
No,
really?
well, I'll bet you I told your grandfather because, wait a second. Yeah, I was working at Kellogg Company. In fact, I was working, and then I was even, so it must have been, gosh, I should have looked up when I started there, but I left that job pregnant with your father. So he was born in 75, so it was a few years prior to that, and so we were married. I was married in 70, so probably just your grandpa.
Okay. This kind of relates, but we're going to kind of switch it to your life as, like, outside of the home of your parents, and more your life as an adult and in Springfield and whatnot. So that, what you said about the Kellogg Company kind of relates to this question, but this is more so just asking about your different experiences in terms of jobs.
Oh, the workforce, number 11?
Yeah.
Okay, I had to stop and think about this, but you want to know about my work history from day one?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, actually, I look back and it was so exciting when I think about it, because I worked in concessions, in the concession stand for the University of Michigan basketball team, and at their hockey arena too, for the hockey games. I remember dating a hockey player, actually. I met a hockey player. Yeah. And I don't know if you've ever heard of, well, this will age me, I don't know how old the professor is, but Wilt the Stilt was the big basketball name back then. A big, tall, African-American guy. He was a wonderful basketball player and a wonderful person. So, yeah, that was fun. And, you know, as excited as I get over Michigan football and the band and things and going to Ann Arbor these days had something to do with that.
Yeah.
You know, from high school we would leave at halftime to get into the Michigan football game, to get in free. You could get in free at halftime. So, you know, we went to all those games. And to be able to work in that atmosphere, that was a lot of fun.
It's exciting,
yeah. I'm sorry, did you say something before? Or do you want me to go on?
I don't think so. Yeah, you're good.
Oh, okay. And then my senior year probably was, I don't know if it was the junior year too, but at least the senior year, I was in a work program where I went to school in the morning and worked in the afternoon. And I worked for an advertising agency. And when I look back on it, this one man, he probably was overly friendly. You know?
Yeah.
Just maybe because I was pretty. I know that they had a product. I don't even know what it was at this point, but there was a product that they had. I don't even know what it has to do with advertising. Oh, maybe selling this product. Anyway, he wanted a picture of it. So he and the cameraman and myself, we went out and found a spot where I was laying on the ground on my stomach, like putting my finger. They needed some pictures for this to advertise this product for a magazine.
Yeah.
And so, they wanted me to do that. And I remember having my hair up in a bun, just like in my yearbook, senior high. But anyway, a big one. We used to put the big one with a ribbon tied around it and a little bow. But anyway, I don't know why I went off on that. But
That's okay.
that was interesting too. So anyway, I worked there, and then I think it was probably during Cleary College, not just after I graduated. I can't remember which, but I worked for an insurance company with really, really nice men. 1, 2, 3, 4 different men.
Okay.
And that was a good experience.
Cool.
But then I got married and moved away. So I got another job at another insurance company, and all this time doing clerical work. And one of the men, I think I might have told you this before, but one of the men in this particular company in Flint, Michigan, he was a deaf man. He could talk, you could understand him, but he couldn't hear. And so at that time, you'll be surprised to hear this because I wish I had kept it up and still knew sign language today, which I know very little of. But this gal and I, we took a course, and we learned specifically how to sign happy birthday, just so on his birthday we could tell him that.
Yeah.
In sign language. Okay. So anyway, then, like I said, I got married. Okay, and I worked there, and then I didn't work for 7 years. I had 2 babies.
Okay.
And but then Katie was in preschool, I believe, when I went back part-time, and then when she was in kindergarten, I worked full-time for a doctor and worked for him for 13 years.
Okay.
And then after he retired at a very young age of 55,
wow.
Yeah, I worked at the Prairie Heart Institute here in Springfield, and that was quite different and not as an enjoyable experience because it was just a completely new one and different one. But then I only worked there, I think it was about 3 years, and for several reasons you don't want to know about, I guess. I quit after a while.
Yeah.
So, and then that was the end of the actual workforce.
Okay.
For me, other than doing my little organizing business that I had.
Okay.
I ran on my own for a while.
Yeah, I kind of want to talk about that for a little bit.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, because I didn't really think about it, but you started a business for yourself, and that is something that is
relates.
I mean, yeah, like I think that prior to feminism and activism for women, that wasn't really a thing. Starting your own business for as a woman. So I mean, I know that that's what you really liked to do, to organize, and I know that you're really good at organizing. So do you have any?
Well, probably since it was an idea I obtained from the Oprah show, because I saw an organizing guru on TV on her show that day.
Okay.
And it gave me the idea. They sent a crew in to organize all the offices at Oprah Studio. Then they went to a neighborhood and showed how they emptied out a whole garage because not even one, let alone 2 cars, could fit in the 2-car garage. So they emptied the whole thing and then put things back in an organized fashion.
Yeah.
I don't know. I thought, I'm good at that. I can do that.
Yeah.
I was kind of between jobs before my mom passed away, and so, like I said, I was off work at that time, and so then after she died, and a few months later, then I started up my business. I mean, I had to go downtown and register it, and and obviously in that kind of a thing, I didn't have any competition to worry about,
right.
or any, man bashing or anything in regards to that position. So
yeah,
I just kind of was able to do that on my own, and I advertised in the Yellow Pages, and then a little bit word of mouth was advertising for me. Oh, and I made up flyers and passed them around, and I also joined the Illinois Women in Management group with a friend of mine who was in it, and she suggested I do that also. So I obtained a little clientele from there, and friendships as well. I happened to see 3 people I knew today at the grandparents' breakfast.
There you go.
Who I met way back then, but are still friends. But anyway,
Cool.
I didn't have any issues again with in regards to the movement
that's good.
or
That's
yeah.
good. I mean, I think that it kind of says a lot about how much things kind of have changed. I mean, not that it would be impossible for a woman to start a business like that, but
I mean, back then.
Back then, right? But I mean, not super common, probably. So that's cool.
Okay.
Would you say that like the main support for that idea came from probably
Don?
Yeah.
Or Papa?
Yeah. From
Yes, definitely.
Okay. Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Had a support system back then and still do now
Definitely.
from your grandfather.
A good man. A good man.
A good man. Good man. Yes, I've got, in fact, question 12.
Yeah, that kind of.
Is that what's
Yeah, we segued into it.
come up here next?
Yes. So, as a mother and a wife, did you feel equal to your husband and acknowledged and respected overall for the work that you did to raise your 2 children and to help out financially and all, keep
All
the
that.
house clean, all that good stuff?
Well, the answer is yes. I felt equal at home.
Mm-hmm.
So let me explain. My husband was very good at dividing up chores with me. And even though he worked outside of the home, while I worked inside of the home.
Mm-hmm.
And he was a very good hands-on
Okay.
dad,
Yeah.
with the kids, and almost constantly, we were both right there with the kids all the time, playing or reading or something, and all kinds of activities and outside of the home as far as, sports and things, and talent shows, and we were equal as far as doing all that work.
Okay.
He was very much a believer, and still is to this day, that if I cook, he cleans up for the most part. I mean, I'll get in there and help too, these days, of course. But he was just real good. You know, why should you cook and do the dishes? So I like that. Always
Yeah.
have, always will. But now outside of the home, not so much as feeling equal as
Okay.
you put it, because I mean he was a highly educated man.
Uh-huh.
He's a highly educated man, and I had an associate's degree. I mean, that's what I wanted, that's what I got, and I should have gone further, but I
Does he have his master's? Okay.
but I didn't, and so of course I never had an issue with equal pay outside of the home or anything like that,
Yeah.
because obviously he was much highly
Right. Mm-hmm.
higher educated man than myself, and he graduated from the University of Michigan, and then he got a master's degree, or that degree's in English, and then a master's degree in journalism from Michigan State University. We lived on campus, and I worked on campus, and that was fun.
Mm-hmm.
So, did I answer that question?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Definitely.
Okay, now these I think are the, go on.
Yeah. Yeah, these are some
Doozies coming up.
heavy ones, kind of, but
Yeah.
we're almost done. So, did the ideals and values of the women's movement of the 1960s and 70s reflect in your life as a mother and a wife? And if so, how? So basically,
is that different? How is
I think that you answered a lot
Did
of
I?
that in the last question, but basically anything, if there's anything additional that you want to add about equality or equal workloads between you and your husband, or stuff like that.
Well, one note I made here, reflect in your life as a mother and a wife. Well, I wrote down here that I had a daughter,
Mm-hmm.
so I was aware for her as well as for myself, of course, and knew what was going on,
Mm-hmm.
basically, as far as the movement and different points that would come up and on the news,
Mm-hmm.
TV. But mother and a wife. My husband and I didn't talk a lot about politics. I do remember that. So
I guess
did
another
I? Yeah, go ahead. You go
another
ahead, Sarah.
direction that we could take with it would be like, when you were raising Katie, your daughter, did you kind of make it a point to teach her some of the things that had been brought to the attention of the public from the women's movement?
I think so.
Did you and do you think that you tried to raise her with like those ideas in
Values.
mind?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, cool.
I think if I had to do it over, it would be, I don't know, much bigger scale.
Okay.
But I'm sure we had some discussions in regard to feminism and telling her that what's important and what's important to pay attention to, and
Mm-hmm. Okay.
back then.
Okay.
I know, I thought we had a question about, oh, that's coming up. Okay, never mind.
Okay.
Getting ahead of myself.
That's okay. Okay, so considering the women's movement of the 60s and 70s, how do you feel about feminism today?
And then actually, question number 15 here kind of fits into that as well.
Yes, and how does it compare? How does it compare with the feminist
Okay.
movements of today?
Well,
How does that?
I actually got this from research
Look at you.
saying that let me think a minute here. Oh, that I consider myself a feminist.
Mhm.
I believe in feminism. I always have, and not opposed to, marching
Mm-hmm.
or getting involved if someone were to ask me. I'm not
Mhm.
much of an activist to get out on my own and start anything or
Yeah.
as you know. But anyway, as far as years ago, well, like I said earlier, I guess we touched on this when we were talking about Me Too versus Take Back the Night.
Yeah.
Well, no, Take Back the Night. I think that was, no, that was protests, sexual assault, protests in regards to sexual assault
Mm-hmm.
and other violences against women.
Okay.
Yeah, so, which to me kind of, like currently is our Me Too compared to, but like I said, I see that I think it's every August. You put your porch light on if you believe in, women taking back the night and, and for everything that stood for, as far as violation of women, which unfortunately, unfortunately, we have probably every issue that we ever had in the 60s and 70s still going on today.
Right.
Which, it's not like, oh, well, we'll march about this and we'll settle that.
Right.
And then we'll march about that. And, marching is hoping to get your voices heard and to be heard by the powers that be,
Yeah.
We hope that someone of importance might hear us.
Mm-hmm.
And of course now, in this time, we have a little bit of trouble getting our powers to be, especially the main one,
Mm-hmm.
to hear us and understand us and join us. And Obama was just great at that.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, Mr. Trump isn't. So, but one thing I noticed that in regards to back then, at one point, the women used to dress up in vintage clothing to protest the old-fashioned policies of the New York Times.
Mm-hmm.
So they were unhappy, apparently, with some things that were being printed, or the opinion, the opinion op-ed is what they call it.
Okay.
Opinion editorial pages
Okay.
in the newspaper. And so, and of course now we know that our president is mostly in cahoots with policies of the New York Times. But anyway, we won't go there. So, let me see, what else did I have anything else? No, I just had mentioned some of the marches that were, the ERA and Equal Rights Amendment marches, and I noticed that there were mass marches regarding abortion and lesbian and gay rights.
Mm-hmm.
far back as 79. Well, of course.
Yeah.
79, 87, 93, 94, all over Washington, New York. In 1995, there were 200,000 women in Washington rallying for women's lives.
Mm-hmm.
The first and largest mass action to stop violence against women. So I guess I talked about that before, but I think that
Wow. You can answer that if you need to. Who is it?
I just wrapped up here by saying that pretty much. Oh, as far as how does it differ from today? 60s and 70s compares with the feminist movements of today. I'm sorry, I get a
No,
little
that's
ahead of you
okay.
because I see my notes.
No, that's okay.
I'm sorry.
No, it's
The final
flowing well.
question.
Yeah, the final question.
That at that time and at this time, that women, well, like I said, send messages to those in power,
Uh-huh.
and then also the young activists, inexperienced activists, went on to become community leaders and beyond.
Mhm.
I'm sure that's where Hillary Clinton probably got her start.
Yeah. Yeah.
So those marches are important, and everything that we hear in the movements are important, and
Definitely.
march on.
Indeed.
Indeed.
March on, indeed. All right. Well, thank you for answering my questions. I think that covers it. Yeah, obviously there's still a lot of work to be done,
Oh yeah.
especially under the current administration.
Yeah.
We still have a long way to go, and we still need to definitely make our voices heard. And yeah, well, thank
If
you.
you come up with anything at your nice young age, you're going to be an activist soon. Branch out into an activist
Yeah,
for the women's movement. You just let me know.
I'll
and
involve you.
march
You can-
right along next
Yeah.
to you.
All right. Sounds good.
Okay.
All right. Well, thank you.
You're welcome.